And I mean, we're seeing how like it's exactly carried out because like I get messages all the time like they're like, hey, I have an uncle who's like from Honduras. He's been living 10 years. He's technically undocumented, but he has an SSI, so like he pays taxes into the system. But not committing crimes, like works a regular job, and people are like, do you think he will be deported? I said personally, I'm like, I think if you're undocumented and you have like an SSI, you're paying like taxes into the system. I don't think you're I don't think you're on the list. Maybe I'm wrong. And obviously, corporate media they're kind of flipping it the other way. They're doing it after a lot of the stores where like they're going to farms and they're, like talking to the owner, like, "Are you scared that like all your workers will be removed?" Personally, I don't think the Trump administration is targeting those individuals. I think the target is going to be first criminals, gang members, things like that, and that's just going to be. I think that will even take years to carry out. I mean, I really don't, that will take years, and I think it'll kind of get down to maybe the theories like the one like you said, like the get a DUI or something, to commit assault, they kind of be reviewed. The other weird part, I'm trying to also understand the legal part of it, is I've interviewed hundreds of like Venezuelans, for example, where they get released in the country, but they technically don't have a court date till like 2027, 2028. So the way that I was explaining, maybe this is wrong, is technically that migrant is now legally here in the United States. Because how does that work out? And then
because now based on the immigration that they came into, they were afforded the opportunity to be here and wait to a later court date, so they're considered legally permitted. And so, which is like, wait, you're talking 10 million people legally permitted. Which the crazy part of the statistic is that only 2% have actually showed up back to their court date. And so maybe once you find out they're out of status, you can go ahead and try and find them. But most people are not living at the address that was given during the time of receiving the NTA.
But the whole thing is like it's flip out, because I remember like when I first started covering 2021, and then you would interview a migrant that had an NTA. I mean, the court date usually would be like in 6 months, a year, like 2 years the most, but it was kind of rare. But now it was later half, I'm interviewing migrants like, oh, when's your court date? Oh, it's 2029. I'm like, 2020. So then technically, like I said, the way it was explained to me is now they're technically legal in the United States to that court date. So now it's a whole mess. So the way that I view it, and just from my conversations with, like regular folks, is like, look, if you have family members, Mexican nationals, Salvadoran nationals, if they've been in the country for years, technically like they're undocumented, but they're not like illegally here, like like a godaway, like they are undocumented. And they have, and another thing is like if you're on the SSI and you're paying taxes, like I just don't see administration prioritizing to remove you. It was also like it's also going to hurt the economy, whether if you're left and right. That's just kind of the reality of it. So I don't see that. I just think they're going to prioritize the bad guys, if you just want to say it that way. But then I just think even that's going to be, like you said, it's a massive challenge, because then you have to hire more staff and carry out. I'm curious though, like too, with like Chinese. Like one thing that I big on my reporting was the amount of Chinese like that came in illegally, special interest alien, technically from a special interest country. Relationships China U.S. some very rocky. I know they accepted like in the past year they accepted some deportation flights, like very few. What do you do with those Chinese nationals? I think I was watching I think like Fox News reported there's like maybe there's more, but there's around like 300,000 that typically have the removal of order. So that it's like how do you do the Chinese? It's just a whole ordeal. I just I'm going to be very curious to see how it's going to be carried out right away.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let me change subjects on you real quick. You reported on Fentanyl. What is that? And like, give me some more information on that, because that's something you reported on recently, correct?
Yeah. So Fentanyl, we're still trying to learn about it, is essentially you have drug dealers that are now able to make the fentanyl like even cheaper, if that makes sense. And they're putting that same thing into like Oxycontin and things like that. So it's like a different chemical. I'm going to be told as we're still trying to kind of learn on it, because we got the report from some health officials in the East Coast who were seeing it. I believe in that area it's been reported now, but Kensington and Pennsylvania. So we're still trying to learn about fentanyl. Like, is that coming from Mexico, or is it something where like regular fentanyl comes in and then like these guys here in the U.S. put like another touch to it? So that we're still trying to kind of learn of exactly what it is. But according to health officials, It's basically like another kind of brother sister to fentanyl. They're worried about it because they say it's more potent. It's kind of mixing more with heroin, and they say it's cheaper to make. I mean, fentanyl is already extremely cheap to make. So that's something that we're trying to pick on. But the fentanyl issue, I try to report it when I can. But with real stories and we're like, actually like Americans affected. So I think my latest kind of story on that, it's been a while, but was back in 2021. There was actually a kid from my hometown who was actually working out in a gym. And while he was lifting, he ended up popping his knee or something like that. And I guess somebody in the gym gave him an Oxycontin. They were like, hey, this is going to help you heal. Ended up actually being laced with fentanyl. And then Jordan ended up actually passing away 24 hours later. I arrived to the family's home, I believe 3 or 4 days after Jordan passed away, and the parents actually gave me the toxicology report, and it was confirmed a fentanyl death. And that to me was also touching, man, because like, when you read about these stories, you're like, oh, that will never really happen in my hometown or whatever. Then when it actually happened to someone around my age in Palmdale, California, just kind of touch another nerve of just how serious this stuff is. And usually you hear the story that like, somebody was using drugs and they thought it was Oxycontin and ended up being that, or they were using heroin, they thought it was heroin and ended up being fentanyl. But this was someone who was in the gym, and for whatever reason was given this painkiller. And another kind of issue on the fentanyl angle is the amount of Americans who die, but when that dealer never is arrested. And that, I mean, so now LA County Sheriff has not concluded that investigation. So whoever ended up giving Jordan that deadly fentanyl pill that he thought was an Oxycontin at that time is still out on the streets. So it's just super horrible, man. Just if I have like another touch to it is, according to the mom, which I found interesting, is when the coroners arrived and they went into the room where Jordan was passed away. The coroner immediately, without testing, Jordan immediately looked to the mom and said, I could tell by the color of his skin, this is a fentanyl death. She's like, wait, what? And yeah, then obviously they do the toxicology report and it ended up coming out confirmed. So that's just another day. That's a whole other world with the fentanyl stuff. And the thing that I try to touch on too, man, with my marijuana cartel stuff is, the same folks who are operating these illegal marijuana grows, they're into the fentanyl trafficking too. This marijuana is another lane of profits for them. So that's something to kind of to remember. So it's man, it's a super sad story. I still speak to them on their daily.